because I just don't think that the game, and from what we've seen from the graphics, are so taxing that From Software isn't sort of making sure that it runs up to From Software standards at least. Why, hello there. It is 186 days until Elden Ring comes out on January 21st, 2022, and this is the Elden Wait. On today's Elden Wait, I'm going to talk about which platform should you buy Elden Ring on. And I'm just going to go through my process. I'm not an expert on these technical things. I've done some research, looked at the trends to sort of guess what may have the best performance, but ultimately, I know it's available cross-platform, so you have the choice between last gen, current gen, PC. So I just wanted to run through the pros and cons of various platforms and, maybe help you make a decision. So let's get into it. When it comes to deciding where to play Elden Ring, I would recommend playing wherever your friends are. That would be the number one place, regardless of performance, because Elden Ring will support summoning and companions a lot, it seems. There will be a password system, there will be priority for messages from friends and groups. So I think, just as much, if not more, than previous Souls games, playing where you have friends and you can see each other's messages and bloodstains and co-op with each other is the place to play, and I think that will enrich the game and add longevity to your play experience. There has not been crossplay previously, so that means we don't really have the option, unfortunately, to just buy it on our console of choice and then play. You sort of have to have the console that a lot of your friends play on. I personally have a PS5, and that's where a lot of my friends are. So I will likely be buying at least a version of Elden Ring to play with friends on PS5. My number two priority is buying Elden Ring on PC. If you have a PC that's basically better than current gen PS5, Xbox Series X, and that's because, PC will give you the best options for visuals and it'll give you mods. And that is something I'm excited for, so that's probably what I will be purchasing first, or if I'm lucky, get a review copy for PC, because that'll be the most convenient place to capture gameplay. It gives me access to mods. On the other hand, cheating and hackers are worse on PC if you do a lot of online stuff, so there is that to consider, but obviously the performance is the best, and you have access to the really strong modding community that is involved with the Souls games. But if you do not care to play with friends, or you don't have friends, and you don't have a PC or don't want to play on PC for various reasons, and you have access to PlayStation and Xbox, where do you go? So if you're looking at last gen with PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S, I think that the basic best practices is that Xbox Series X or Xbox One X will give you the best performance, followed by PS4 Pro, then the base PlayStation 4, and finally the Xbox One S, the base Xbox One. So all the last gen versions will get a free upgrade patch to the PS5 or Xbox Series X version. So if you don't have a current gen console yet and you're looking to get one, you can get, a version of the game for whichever console you're planning on upgrading to, and you will get that free upgrade patch. So there's that to consider, that won't be any extra, and it'll probably be relatively limited, but still something to consider if you're still in the process of getting a current gen console and you're planning to. So if you're going between Xbox Series X and PS5, is there anything to really differentiate them? The PlayStation 5 might perform a little bit better depending. I know that out of the box, Sekiro, for instance, performed slightly better on the PS5. Because they're including an upgrade patch, I don't know that there will be a meaningful difference between the Xbox Series X and the PS5. So I think sort of at that point, whatever your console of choice might be, would go to that. But I think that out of the box, PS5 might perform a little better, but that's hard to say for sure. And then I don't think there's really anything else because I think that if we're considering like Game Pass, for instance, Bandai Namco has been advertising purposefully platform agnostic. Like they chose to go with Summer Games Fest instead of going with like the Microsoft conference as they have done in the past. So I'm not sure at this point if there is any sort of Game Pass deal that is likely to happen because it seems like, they're not really siding with Microsoft right now. They're sort of, putting it forth as a multi-platform game, and therefore I don't know how likely Game Pass is, but it might be something to consider. And I also expect little from adaptive triggers on PlayStation 5 if that's a consideration for you. Something like Demon's Souls used it pretty well, but also Demon's Souls was made for the PlayStation 5. And being that this is multi-platform and From is not a huge studio, I don't expect there to be a ton of time put into translating the adaptive triggers for one platform out of, the 6, 7, whatever it is, consoles that they are designing for. So my personal ranking from what I've looked at is number 1, wherever your friends are, followed by a PC if you have a strong gaming PC, followed by PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, then Xbox One S, PS4 Pro, the base PS4, and finally Xbox One Series S. And ultimately, the vast difference, unless you're a real technical minded person, in which case I'm sure you already know all this stuff and you have your own opinions, but if you are not sure, I think the biggest thing, I don't think there's any huge differences except for between, obviously a strong PC and current gen and last gen. And I want to stress that Elden Ring was being designed for last gen, and it was only delays and stuff that pushed it. It was never being designed with current gen in mind. So I think it will definitely be more taxing on last gen consoles, but I am not expecting Elden Ring to really like break the PS4 or the Xbox One. We'll see, but I think they were designing for that, and I don't think there is anything to really worry about as far as like a cyberpunk situation, because I just don't think that the game, and from what we've seen from the graphics, are so taxing that From Software isn't sort of making sure that it runs up to From Software standards, at least, on last gen consoles, which, that's going to give you your 30 FPS versus the 60 FPS on current gen consoles and PC. And, we may have some frame rate stuff and some frame pacing issues, is just how From Software does stuff. And considering this is their engine that they always use, I would look toward Sekiro as sort of what to expect out of some of the performance. And you can check out wherever you go to Digital Foundry or whoever for more technical breakdowns of how those have done in the past. But, I don't think it's going to be huge for someone like me who's really more concerned about art direction and just being able to play the game. And I personally prefer, not to have huge swings in FPS, anything that actually affects the gameplay. I don't care if it's 30 or 60, honestly. 60 looks better if I have the option, but I just prefer that it doesn't dip a lot or it doesn't stutter a lot, because that's more annoying than it being at 30. I'd rather have a solid frame rate than it to fly around but have be in 4K. I prefer to just be able to be sort of immersed in the game without being pulled out by technical hiccups and issues. So let me know in the comments what you think and where you'll be purchasing Elden Ring for, what your own thoughts is if they differ from how I've presented it. I'm not the most technically minded person in the world, so I'd love to hear any feedback from those who are more technically minded. And just let me know, and I will see you for the next Elden Wait.